Hey, welcome there, everybody that's been listening to us here at the Struggling Hunters. Uh, Real quick, if you like what you heard so far in the last 2 seconds, like and subscribe. We appreciate it. And if you're happy for what may be coming to down the pipe here, like and subscribe again because it's going to be great. We got some. We know how to talk, but
Telling them
hopefully,
this. Hold on though. I gotta intercept though. You told them to subscribe twice.
uh-huh.
If they do that, they'll unsubscribe the second time. So just subscribe once, like once too, I guess. Just had to throw that in there.
Well, I know they'd figure it out. I got faith in them.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But no, thanks for. We do need that clarification. That's one of the things that us with that tend to struggle with hunting. Need all
Yeah.
the help we can.
Yeah.
But but yeah, thank you for tuning in. And this we got. We're going to discuss a little bit about what we learned about this past hunting season. The hunting season that goes as far as turkey season. But before we get there, Eric closed out his turkey season this last week, and well, I think he kind of ended it on a high. But I'll let him get into it and tell you what his story is out of his own mouth.
Well, your definition of a high is probably a little bit different than mine. I'll just get straight to the point. And I didn't get a turkey this year. That's the bummer. I went on this hike. I walked all the way up on this hill, spent all this time up on this mountain, turkey calling, trying to come up with everything I can. The cool thing is I did jump an elk though, and it was kind of a lone elk, all by himself.
Was it a cow or a bull?
I think it was a cow. The
Is
reason
calving season coming up? She could be getting ready because I think they go off by themselves when they're getting ready to drop their calves.
I have no idea. Didn't they already have their calves?
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like they
Well,
should have, but
you might be right. I don't know. I was up I was kind of up on top of the ridge just walking along, and then down below me probably 50 yards just jumped out. The only thing I was kind of wondering if it was like a young bull that might have not have grown horns yet or something, because um I say that because it looked big. It looked really big. I don't know. It it looked a little abnormal size, and I'm like, man, it could have been a young bull or something maybe, because it just looked a little bigger than a cow. But I had a good sight of it though, and it was really cool. Jumped out of the bushes right in front of me, about 50 yards away, and then ran over the hill and never did see it again. The crazy thing is though, is probably about 2,000 yards away, because I was up on top of this hill over on private land. There was probably a herd of, man, at least 50, if not more. I didn't really sit there and think about counting them, but there was a ton of elk on this private land. I was glassing them and stuff, but obviously I couldn't get a good picture with my cell phone, so I didn't even bother being 2,000 yards away. It was kind of, I mean, that's just a guess. I don't know if they're that, but they were a ways away. Uh, Whenever I first spotted them, I was like, "Oh, is that just cattle or is that elk?" And then, but they were all tan like an elk, so I was like, "I think it's elk." So I pulled up my binos, and they're definitely elk. Anyway, so I was up on top of the ridge, and nothing really happened up there. Spent some time up there walking around, trying to figure out where those turkey could be. And I start heading back toward the truck, and I almost get to the truck, and and I heard a gobble, and I was like, man, I didn't hear that. Like I'm wanting to hear a gobble so bad I'm making it up in my head. Then all of a sudden they're just going off like crazy, and I mean they wouldn't stop. They kept gobbling and gobbling, and the hens were chirping and the toms were gobbling, and and I was getting all excited, but they were directly in front of me. I mean, I don't know how far they were, but I couldn't see them. I could never spot them, but they were over on private land. And I was sitting there waiting, and I was trying to think to myself, and I did chirp a few times myself, but I was like, well, I feel like me chirping is kind of pointless because there's real hens down there chirping, and they're probably trying to meet up with them, and they're probably not going to leave those hens to come to, a possibility of a hen across the road. That was kind of my thought. So I just shut up and let them do their thing. And they probably did it for a half hour. And I just kept kind of crossing my fingers because, like I said, they were on private, so there was nothing I could do about it. So I kind of kept crossing my fingers. I'm like, well, maybe they'll cross the road and come up toward me on BLM land, and I'll get a shot off or something, or make a play. And obviously that never happened. It was cool, getting into them and hearing them go off like that, but it never happened. It never turned into anything. They never did cross the road like I was hoping they would, and and that was kind of it. I stayed out for the rest of the day, but never got into any activity. The weirdest thing about it, I don't know if it was so much weird, but it was like they were making all that noise, and then I don't know, like there was just a point where they just stopped. They just stopped, and I was sitting there waiting around, waiting for another call to happen, and nothing happened. And so I made a few chirps to try to get something going, and they would not bite. So it was weird how there was so much activity, and then it just stopped, and I never could get them to go again. And looking back on it, I guess if I was a more patient man, maybe I should have just stayed up there, just hung out up there and seen what happened till the very end of the day. But I got impatient, and I was like, oh, they're not gonna come up here, and kind of gave up on the situation, and left that area and went up and turkey hunted in some other areas. And I did go back there that evening, right before, well, a little before dark, but I went back over there, but it just seemed like there was just nothing really happening whenever I went back. So that was kind of my turkey hunting in a nutshell. To kind of express looking back on the turkey season, I guess we can kind of transfer over to that subject.
Sure.
Uh Thanks.
You're welcome.
Um
I'll give you permission.
I I feel like I made a big mistake because I knew there was turkey all, so I went to the area that I was not going all season long. I went to the area that I didn't go all year, and I went up there, and then I got into activity, and I was like, man, I should have just been up here from the get-go, from the very beginning of the season, because I knew there were turkey up here. Uh, I've explained it before, but the reason I didn't want to go up in there was because it's just up where I work. It's a little bit of a drive, and so on and so forth. So I was trying to look for something a little closer to the house, and also just look for area around, closer to the house, just make it easier on me. But in the end, I made it harder on me because I hunted all season long and never sealed the deal. Where if I would have just went up there, maybe I would have went up there for a few weekends and got something earlier in the season than not get nothing at all. So I look back and I kind of think that was one of my biggest mistakes. Also, kind of kicking off turkey season, sometimes I feel like it was kind of hard to get in the transition of things sometimes too. Uh, I guess what I mean by that is just not really being able to be
Well,
out as much as I wanted to be.
I can get that. Like you got, a couple things going on and trying to get that transition is that flip switch from family life to personal life to hunting life is kind of difficult, trying to get your focused over because you get caught doing one thing, then you got to kind of do a 180-degree turn just to get something else focused on your mind to go out and do that too. So when you kind of get, yeah, that's one thing that's kind of nice about a long season. Or I don't know if it is a nice thing about a long season because you always kind of go, well, I got plenty of time. But then a short season, you're like, well, I got 3 days. I'm going to hit it hard for these 3 days and then I'm done. Or, maybe not quite 3 days, but, you know,
Yeah, I you're exactly right. I think there was a little bit of that went through my head but it went so fast. And this year versus a lot of other years, I got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and I mean it's all good stuff. Your dog has an opinion about that.
he doesn't agree with you.
He doesn't understand. I got a lot of stuff.
Well, I think it's more the fact that he has a lot of confidence in you and
Yeah,
knows that you can accomplish it all. So
yeah.
step up.
Will do. But yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on this year, more so than most other years, and so my second year turkey hunting probably wasn't. I probably could have had a better turkey season if things weren't so crazy. But um, I mean, it's all good though. I mean, everything's I'll get better for next year. I think I'll learn a little bit, carry it over to next year. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for turkey more often throughout the year. I mean, I'll let you explain it, but I feel like that was something that helped you last hunting season. I don't want to take your words away because you'll probably bring it up, but I mean, I'm not sure if you will, but you ran into turkey last hunt season for elk or deer, whatever you're hunting at that time,
Yeah,
and
both.
and then you're like, well, hey man, they're here in the fall, and or
Right. Well, like that's a kind of interesting thing. So like a couple of things that I learned this year, just to kind of maybe spout them out, and then we'll get into them a little bit. Is one, uh, where you see turkeys, go there to hunt them, and I don't know that turkeys always roost. Where I was hunting, I didn't see any roosting turkeys, and I didn't see any in the morning, come down from a roost, and I didn't see any in the evenings going up to a roost. So I don't know that they always roost, if that makes sense. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of grief for that because everyone swears by turkeys roosting. Um, but that's just what I saw. And another thing is I think the whole season of turkey season, turkey's gonna can be gobbling. And I say that because the last day of the turkey hunt, which would have been the end of May, went up for a drive up the hills here, and sure enough, there was a turkey gobbling nonetheless off the side of the road.
yeah.
So, you know, and then you even heard them gobbling too. So, don't be scared of always trying to use that tactic of a hen looking to get bred. Um,
Yeah, I want to explain. When I walked up on that ridge, I was chirping and putting out some calls. And to go off of what you were saying, I was before I heard the turkeys gobbling down later on. I was like, man, I hope there's nobody else up here because I'm not hearing much activity. And if I could just imagine if somebody else walks up here and says, "You dumb, they're not even chirping right now," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I definitely had that thought because I was it's been a few weeks since I've heard them make any noise, so I didn't know if they were still going or not. And then obviously on my way back down the hill, I heard all that activity. So So yeah, that's an excellent point though, is just stay on that call.
Yeah.
Speaking of, before I completely hand it over to you, that's another thing too, is the practice. I kind of feel like I should have practiced more.
Yeah. I feel like along that note goes too, is kind of knowing a little bit more on what that turkey purr sounds like during that time of year. Cause I feel like I'd sit down and like do a call or purr or cluck or something like that. But like, I'm like, I think this is what it's going to sound like, that's like, it's what I've heard. So it's like, but I'm not sure that that's the exact, I'm sure, like inflation or tone or whatever, I want to use that tone that calls them in or gets their attention, not drives them away. But yeah. And
Yeah.
then like you said too, kind of I'll circle back to the first point, and that I think, drive that home that I talked about hunting where you see turkeys. Uh, like you said, like you mentioned, I did hunt them where I found them in the fall. And now there was a lot more turkeys in the fall than there was in the spring. Like I actually saw two, well, one day I think I saw three separate flocks in this area.
Hmm.
And this year, in the springtime at least, I only saw 5 turkeys in this area. So, and then so I hunted where I was seeing them in the fall time, and then in the springtime, what got me into this area, like I said in the previous podcast, was uh, scout, and I saw them running down this ridge, and I hunted the ridge next to it instead of getting on the ridge that I saw the turkeys on. So I spent not two, I spent like 4 days hunting an area. I did happen to come across turkeys on that ridge, but the ridge that I ended up getting my turkey on is the ridge that I saw it on when I was first scouting for turkeys. So if and then on that note too, uh, two two of the days that I was hunting up there, I did see turkeys over on that ridge, and I tried getting set up on them. But on the day that I got them, I came in from another access point and in the area where I saw them the first time. But so long story short, or maybe to drive it home is, I was one ridge over hunting because it was a little bit easier of a hike. You know, think thinking maybe I can get something over on that side because it was easier, but putting in a little bit extra effort seems like it paid off for me because I happened to walk into them and not call into them. But yeah, so you know, hunting where they are.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's fun. It's so much more challenging than I ever gave it credit for, and I really regret not doing more of it growing up, because I think I could have learned a lot if I would have done it in years ago.
Right.
Because I guess the point that I'm trying to make is they can be pretty challenging whenever just
And
trying to locate them, and once you locate them, even getting close enough to get that 40. Well, I mean, I guess you want to maybe be as close 10 to 40 yard shot, but getting that close can be a challenge, and there's a lot more that goes into it than a person thinks. If it was something that we depended on for food, we'd probably starve.
and
Walking.
we wouldn't have be so fat.
Yeah, well, true. Because I mean, what the amount of foot miles that I put in this turkey season for I mean, I ended up not getting one, so I guess it doesn't matter. But the amount of miles I put in for it just to get a turkey, I'm like, man, if I was really dependent on this turkey, I mean, even if I got one, probably still starve just because the calories in, calories out just wouldn't make much sense for a turkey.
Yeah, you'd probably be eating like a turkey, trying to pick up all the grubs and seeds that you could.
Yeah.
But yeah, so um and the other thing too I kind of took away from this season is learning is how they see in fluorescent colors. I thought that was kind of interesting. And we talked about the one episode about how colorful the turkeys are, and after learning about how they see, it kind of can see why they're kind of like they're that fluorescent color. Like if you rotate a feather in the sun, it has different fluorescent colors on it, and I kind of want to gain a little bit more understanding on that. But I thought that was kind of a cool learning thing this year, was understanding that how they see of a like as a I guess a fluorescent color versus a solid color like we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I've heard stories about people that have decoys and they paint the decoy's head red, and how the toms will come in and just attack that decoy. I don't know how often that actually happens, but I've heard the stories. I always thought that was kind of interesting. Makes me want to play around with it. That's something now that we're kind of getting in the weeds of everything, like or the ins and outs of everything. That's something that I kind of want to do is work with decoys a little more in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I grabbed some feathers off my turkey this year. And I'm probably gonna try to glue them onto my decoys for next year,
Oh, there you go.
but we'll see. But yeah, it's definitely was a kind of a fun hunt this year. I guess it was even more fun being successful. But
Yeah. I don't know what that's like, but I
well,
can
it's
imagine.
nice.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I can imagine.
It's pretty gratifying, you know.
I'll
So,
catch up.
yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. Man, I think I just drew a blank. You have anything else you wanna like I that's kind of everything I learned this season. Um, I think the next thing for next year is I didn't gobble all that much because I don't have anything that gobbles. I think next year I want to pick up a gobble and maybe a crow call, work on my crow calls. Those are my two things for next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to work on all that too. Um Trying to think now that you said that, I want to say in our regulations in Colorado, I could be off on this and I can't fact check it really quick. So um, just take it with a grain of salt. But I want to say that I don't know if you can actually use a like an electronic call.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning electronic. I just there's some hand
Oh,
calls
oh,
and
they
even
have some. Oh,
and,
okay.
and using a diaphragm too. You can use your elk call and sound like a crow call, and you get pretty good. You can gobble and stuff with your diaphragm call and stuff too. And that's what I was getting at, is I want to get better with that type of stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we clarified because I was interpreting it as like some kind of machine or whatever.
Yeah, no, I figured I'd go out there with a couple of Bluetooth speakers and have
Yeah.
them sit around the. No,
Your Beats by Dre little
yeah,
speaker pill.
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna drop the bass on them.
Up the bass. Hey, it might work. Might work. But yeah, that's I definitely want to work on calling and um, put in the time for it. I feel like that was the one thing is everything was kind of a scramble this year. So I usually got out on Sundays this year, but I would it was always kind of like just get out and be out there in the woods. That was the biggest hurdle that I was trying to come across, and research and stuff like that just wasn't really in my wheelhouse this year. So next year I kind of want to really get into it, do the research. I want I feel like there's something to be said about being confident in the area that you're in, because every time I go to an area, I was trying it out because I was trying to make that area work for me, and I wasn't very confident if there was anything in there.
Makes
And
sense.
so
That
um
makes sense.
that's something that I kind of want to do that with regular hunting too, just finding my area, which transitioning, I don't know, like that's all I have for turkey. What about you?
Yeah, that's all I got for turkey.
Okay, because I want to transition, because now it's kind of time to start thinking about hunting elk and deer. That's what, 3 months away. So
Yeah.
speaking of that, I have some ideas that I want to. I feel like I always try to have a plan, but I feel like this year what I want to do is kind of in some sort of way draw out, like, this day I want to make this loop. Even if I do 2 loops in one day, or whatever, it doesn't matter, but just kind of like, I'm going to do this loop, I'm going to do this loop. If these loops don't work, I'm going to go over here and do this loop. Maybe I'll go back to this loop, because I feel like sometimes we get out there and I just kind of have the one plan, or I try to tell myself that I have multiple plans, but what happens is I kind of just stick with my first plan, and then I try to make that plan work, and I don't think it works as well as so
Yeah.
it's just something that I've been kind of rattling around in my head about kind of just making these loops. And if that loop doesn't work, then I go to another loop or do another loop.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then also the best I can try to identify some points to where maybe I could set in glass for a while. So I start out on my loop, but somewhere in there, it, try to use them the topo, or maybe if I remember the area or something, uh, whatever it takes, kind of identifying, oh, this might be a good glassing spot to spend a little bit of time there, and then finish out my loop, maybe find another glassing spot, but just kind of have more of a plan, that way I have something to keep going and trying, because I feel like in years past, I started just getting a little anxiety about the first plan not working, and then I just start, oh, I don't know what to do. But
Yeah.
some of my preparation for this upcoming year is having a bunch of plans, so I don't ever get in that mentality of like, I don't know what to do. So just something I've been kind of thinking about, kicking around. Um, I feel like I've tried to at least say that I was going to do that in the past, and doesn't really work out that way. So this year I'm going to take the time out to try to do that.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Getting yourself a couple of different plans, and especially trying to learn an area, or get what's there. Finding maybe like those honey holes that are going to have something in there that you're not going to see if you're not out there looking. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
And I kind of want to go back to where we've went the last couple years, not this last year, but kind of want to go back to that area just because of more dark timber. And
well, and the other thing too, I kind of want to explore that one spot where we did come across the elk or the elk, not the elk, but the elk.
I
The
want
one
to hit
cow.
that too. Yeah. Yeah, that's that. I kind of have that toss up though, because that's a ways away from both
Right.
spots where we were hunting.
Yeah.
But I kind of do want to maybe go up there and
And the only
hunt
reason I
that.
say that is just because that day, when we were walking, we saw a lot of, it wasn't like a big herd running through there, but there was a lot of single elk tracks running around through that area.
Oh, there's a lot for sure.
So, and we know that they were through there because it snowed the night before. So it wasn't like, it was a week snow that's been there for a week or two, but it was only there for 6 hours, 8 hours. And there's a lot of tracks.
I don't know if I ever told you, but whenever you left that night, the next
Afternoon.
day, the next day I went back out there.
Uh-huh.
Somebody shot, and it wasn't that far from me. I mean, it's hard to say how far, but it seemed pretty close. Somebody shot back in there. That might have been partially why I didn't see nothing that next day. They probably huddled down after that shot, maybe. I don't know. Or they got out of there. They got out of Dodge. But
Right.
but yeah, they were pretty close to that area, or that shot was pretty close to where I was. So so yeah, there's definitely activity up there. That's something, that's what I was kind of thinking, is going back where we were a couple years ago and doing some loops there. But then I don't even know if how we're gonna do that, but I'm imagining if you're there, so just let me dream. If we're not seeing nothing in the loops that we're doing or whatever, that we head up there and do some loops in there. But the nice thing is it'll be nice and warm. It'll be different because it'll be warm, and I'm excited to do some archery hunting for that reason,
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of freezing your butt off, you're sweating your butt
Sweating your
off.
butt off. Yeah. I mean, there's other things you got to deal with, right? The bugs and sweat.
Yeah.
But in some ways I'd rather do that than
Freeze.
freeze. Yeah. I don't know though. Freezing sometimes motivates you to just keep walking around because it's so cold.
Right.
But I am excited to say though, well, actually, do you have any more?
No.
Okay, well, I am excited to say that I did get a draw in
Good.
my for deer. I didn't draw anything for elk, but I drew for deer, an antlerless tag. So that'll be interesting. I don't have a problem with it or anything, but I always kind of think about going after bucks or bulls, not
Right. Yeah.
so it's a little different, but I drew for it, so I'm kind of thinking that they wanted to control the population, so I'm doing a service.
Right.
But
It'll be fun
yeah,
though. It give you something else to go after, and I think it's a different season too, right?
yeah, it's in November. It'll be a rifle take. So
Gotcha. So yeah, once your hunt's over, give you a little break and then a couple days or whatever to go out and use the old rifle. That's the one thing I kind of want to do, a rifle hunt, just because I haven't rifle hunted, and this will be my third year. But I do miss rifle hunting.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, it's kind of funny because I was really trying to go after the kind of the rut. I was trying to go after the rut a little bit, and
Uh-huh.
I put in that antlerless. I didn't think I would. That's the one that I didn't think I would get. I actually thought I would draw one of the other units, and I didn't. I didn't draw any of those. I got the antlerless, so I'm good with it though. I mean, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Might be able to hit that one with you too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Speaking of, when's your opening day?
July, August 15th or something. I don't, might be like the 20th of August.
But it is in August,
Yeah, like the end of August
and that's for elk.
for elk. Yeah,
You're just doing elk this year, right? That's what you said earlier. Or at
correct.
some
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Because that'd probably be perfect then, because I can get over there for that, to go with you for August, and then I don't know, maybe hopefully you can come out for September. If not,
yeah.
then we could always do November, but
Right.
hopefully you can make it out for a day or two in September.
True.
I'd almost rather you come out in September than but it's kind of in the middle of your hunt too, so it's kind of one of
Right.
those things.
I'll just hurry up and get my tag field and come out.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be fun though. I'm excited for it, so we'll have a good time. We always do, but I think that's all I got, Joe, for tonight.
That's all I got too. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap her up.
I like it. Sounds good. Well, yeah, so I guess I'll do the wrapping up.
Okay.
Guys, thanks for listening. If you like this, please consider following, subscribing, give it a like. That'd be very helpful. Also share with a friend. That's what really helps us spread the word, is sharing with your friends and telling them all about us. So with that said, guys, thanks for listening. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you in the next one.
Take care.
Later.
Adios.